here shortly, our ranking. So I have one more amendment that I would like to introduce, and I think I'll have Eileen explain that. You know, we've had a lot of conversation with a lot of people, and there are portions of this bill that folks are concerned about. So just trying to, you know, listen to what folks are saying and trying to find some reasonable solutions. I'm always looking for a win-win. So I have an amendment that was brought to us by our plans that are self-funded. So we heard a lot of conversation about that. So Eileen, would you want to explain that amendment?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment actually was handed out yesterday, so if you could find it in yesterday's papers. The amendment would be to Section 5 of the bill, and it's on page 8. And we would be inserting a statement saying the provisions of this section, Section 5, shall not apply to self-funded plans subject to the provisions of ERISA, the Federal Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. Then the provision that's currently subsection E would slide down to subsection F, and the subsection that's F would slide down and become subsection G. The other thing that would be a minor change that is not indicated on the handout is, as I was doing this amendment, in the current subsection G, it says the commissioner may order a reimbursement to an insured who, the term insured is not actually defined in the act, so I'm going to go ahead and change that to covered person, which actually is a defined term in the act. And with that, I can stand for questions.
Thank you. Questions, committee? Sound good? Okay. Motion, Senator Fagg?
Madam Chair, I would move the amendment as presented.
Okay. Is there a second? Senator Argabright? Second? Okay. Discussion? Yes.
So just to clarify, this would eliminate the $10.50 fee for the ERISA plan, for
Yes.
those with ERISA plans. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. You're welcome. Anything else? Senator Warren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with the conceptual amendment that we're working,
It's not conceptual. You got it yesterday.
oh, no, I thought she said she was changing
No?
insured to,
Does the 1050 get removed from the self-funded plans?
I'm sorry,
Because
this was
they're
a
removing
question
them.
for the reviser, I guess, that
Okay.
in
Reviser?
section G that I think the discussion was insured wasn't defined, but we were going to change it to, if the reviser could just restate that part.
Would you like to do that, Eileen?
Sure, thanks, Madam Chair. The word insured appears in the sentence, and we would be changing that to covered person, which is a defined term. That language is a holdover from the section that was part of the Pharmacy Benefits Manager Licensure Act. And covered person is a term that we added for the Kansas Consumer Prescription Protection and Accountability Act. So it's updating the language.
So which line are we talking about?
It is in line 32. It's the last word in the line before the comma.
Okay, and one other question on the amendment language. So in line 23 on page 8, it says a covered individual. And the conceptual amendment is to change insured to a covered individual or to a covered person.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It would be to change it to a covered person.
So I guess for the carrier of the amendment, why is in one instance it's a covered person and in another instance it's a covered individual? Is there a difference?
I'm going with the recommendation of the reviser. Eileen, would you want to answer that? We're trying to match our language.
With all due respect, Madam Chair, I did not see the covered individual, but individual is a term that relates to a human being. When we draft statute, it's not typically defined because the default is for an individual to be a human being. As I stated, covered person is actually a defined term, and insured has nothing to do with any of the language that's in the act. So that was what flagged my request to go ahead and change that as a technical amendment.
So one last clarification, I hope. So when we're changing it to covered person in line 32, that is going to also include entities versus when we talk about covered individual in line 23, we're talking about just a person. Do I have that distinction correct?
Go ahead, Supervisor.
No, because a person would include an entity. A covered individual would be someone who is covered by the plan as a human being. Covered person in the act applies to entities that need to abide by the provisions of the act.
Well, I think that's what I said. I think individual is a human being and person are people and entities. Do is that correct?
You actually had said with respect to the covered individual line, you said person, so I was restating.
Okay, so individual means a human being and person includes human beings plus entities. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and what's the impact? Well, I'm just curious with why we would be doing it one way in one section and one the other, and so I'm not sure what the impact would be and if there are unintended consequences
Great
that we
question for the
haven't heard
revisor.
about.
I cannot answer that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the provision that addresses the covered individual, it states a covered individual's defined cost sharing for each prescription drug shall be calculated at the point of sale. A entity is a business entity and would not actually have a defined cost sharing. This refers to somebody who would be paying for a prescription drug who would have a defined cost sharing. So individual is correct in that line, and the change to covered person would be correct in that line.
Thank you, and may I ask one more clarification? I'm not suggesting that one is correct and one isn't. I'm just trying to figure out the difference. So in line 23, when we're having a covered human being is going to, at the point of sale, I guess at section D1, starting at line 23, that talks about a covered human being is going to be paying something at the point of sale, when in line 32, subsection E, we're talking about that the reimbursement will go to either the human being or the entity. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
So the cost being paid at the point of sale will be on the human being, and then in subsection E, the reimbursement may go to the entity. All right, I think I understand. I'm not sure whether that's a help to the individual or to the human being, or whether then it's just a higher cost of health care for the human being. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we have an amendment. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no? Okay, thank you. Do you want to be recorded by any chance? Senator Warren?
Madam Chair, I'm aware how to ask to be recorded for a vote.
Just asking. I want to make sure we're very fair to everybody who's here today. Okay, so we've had two amendments now on this bill. Are we ready? Yes, Senator Gossage.
I have an amendment, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do we have copies?
Yes, if we
Okay.
could pass that out, please.
Very good. Thank you so much.
While it's being passed out, I just want to say, I appreciate the chair saying that you're trying to work with other parties and come with compromises, et cetera. And this certainly was a compromise for like Garmin, Evergy, other associations that do have larger self-funded plans, because we heard from actuaries, it would raise their rates. Kansas Bankers Association reported last night $1.8 million if this were to pass. And we still don't have a fiscal note on the
Senator
Kansas
Gossage,
Employee
I'm
Health
going to have to
Benefit.
interrupt you there because the amendment, they're no longer in
Correct,
that
they are not.
group.
They
so,
are not.
All right.
And I appreciate that, Madam Chair. But who's not here, who doesn't have a lobbyist, is the mom and pop restaurant, the local grocery store, the self-employed family. They would see this increase as well, and they don't have people here to lobby for them. So this just eliminates them from the $10.50, as well as the large corporations and the self-funded plans. And I just want to mention a major concern with that, and I'm very pleased to see what has happened on the federal level. We saw a lawsuit that was just completed, that was filed against PBMs, that we saw that happened yesterday, that's going to give even more relief to the private and the local pharmacists that we all support. But I don't recall that we have ever, nor should we ever, have a private company be forced to pay to another private company, much less a set amount. And this just helps these small businesses that this will be passed along to them. They will see an increase, and many of them are just struggling to try to offer employer-sponsored health insurance. The average company in the state of Kansas is about 15 employees. So let's just not help the big guy. Let's also help the little guy. And with that, I move my amendment.
Okay, is there a second? What? Are you missing something? Is there a second? Sorry. Senator Rose seconds. Further discussion? Further discussion, committee? Not seeing any? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Argabright?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is an interesting topic that I've had some conversations with, and whether there should be that fee or I understand where the 10 came from, but and that the threshold might be around $15 for pharmacies. I'm not sure where that should be right now, and I'm not opposed to this conversation at all. But I guess I would rather have more information on this. And maybe if we can move it to the next level, we can get more information on this, Madam Chair. But right now, I would stand opposed to this because I feel like there's more information that we can get between now and then. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And if I may, Madam Chair, I did request more information on this. And one of the things that we discovered is that, for example, we heard about West Virginia. And we heard about that, honestly, what's happening is the price to fill a drug at an independent pharmacy was $11.28 because of the increase that they did. And that's about $10 higher than they would have been paying. But then at the local Walgreens and CVS, it was $4.42 because the big chains can say, that's okay, we don't need the $10.50, we're not going to charge that. So it actually was hurting the independent pharmacies. And I just want to make sure, so not only do I care about the independent pharmacy, and have been fighting, I personally have been fighting on legislation on the federal, and testified in the federal government on these very things. We need to rein in PBMs. I'd be the first one to say that. This is just not the way to go about it. And charging that additional fee, as we've already seen, and I could share this if you like, Madam Chair, is that it is not hurting the big chains. It's only going to end up hurting them. Also, if you have a health savings account and you're going to pay, say, for the first $5,000, Madam Chair, of your deductible, you're going to pay those direct costs. So if somebody goes to the pharmacy, they've been paying $4 for a prescription, it's now going to be $14.50. They have to pay that full cost. It's either going to be passed along to the plan or it's going to be passed along to the individual. And again, I do not see it's our place to say this private company must pay this private company. Forget how I feel about or against PBMs, but a private company paying another private company, much less setting an amount.
Yeah, so the
And so I appreciate what we did for the larger businesses, but I think we need to do this for everyone.
I'm perfectly fine with your amendment, I'm not going to, but I do want folks to remember that the difference is, and this is also in the federal legislation, is that the cost of that is not $10.49 or $10.50 on each prescription. The offset is the rebates are required to be passed through to the plan, as are the end of spread pricing. So those costs will go to the plan, which will then impact your prescription costs. So
And I appreciate that, Madam Chair. However, in Kansas, West Virginia, that was part of their bill, and most of their carriers did not do that. Most of our plans already do, and their rates are taken into consideration. So all they're going to see is that $10.50 addition. It's not going to reduce their costs. So the rates were, that's why we heard this
We're gonna
1.8
agree to
million.
disagree on that, because that's not the information I have, but that's fine. We've got an amendment, we need to work that amendment, so we've got discussion. Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the discussion, and I want to back up for a minute and thank the parties and the stakeholders for coming together and having this conversation. And I'm glad to hear the additional research about what the chain pharmacies can do they don't have to charge the $10, $50 if they don't want to, and they could then charge less, and then they're competing against the smaller pharmacies, which we heard a lot from in committee, that this would actually kind of then be an unintended consequence, it seems, and then drive even more traffic to the chain pharmacies, which I think is something that the bill is trying to avoid. So, and with the larger ERISA plans not being subject to it, then it, I think, puts it on, if I'm understanding correctly, I think it puts it on the smaller folks as well. So this would be an amendment that would be helpful. I'm thinking of the person on, a plan that they bought on the Affordable Care Act exchange, and they've got to walk in, and if I'm understanding it correctly, then their plan, which isn't necessarily an ERISA plan because they have an individual plan, they'd be subject to having to pay the $10.50, if I'm understanding it correctly. So I think if we're going to do it for the big entities, we ought to then do it for the small entities as well, which is my understanding of the amendment.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. We don't all agree on the same points of that discussion, but it's always good. It's good to discuss. So,
Madam Chair, if I may, we do have
we
some
gotta vote
experts
on
in the.
this.
No, I was just going to say, we do have some experts in the room. You and I may disagree, but experts can share with us.
not on this amendment, please.
All
We
right.
have a hearing today, too. So how about we take a vote? I think it's time to take some action on these things, so we either get it out of committee or we don't. We have an amendment. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. Okay, can we have a hand count, please? So I've got, if you're an aye, would you raise your hand? Got 3, 4. If you're a no, will you raise your hand? Okay, motion fails, amendment fails. Okay, now, let's go to the bill, please. We've got 2 amendments on that bill. Is there a motion to move the bill?
Madam Chair, I had another amendment as well. I don't know if the reviser has prepared it, but I had requested an amendment.
No, she does not have that amendment.
Well, I emailed it.
The floor, if we get out of committee with it?
Well, the amendment talks about the protected health information of an individual, that with the bill, it would then have to be shared with the Department of Insurance, and do we really want the reporting of protected health information of each individual, each human being, reported to a government entity? And
That would be wonderful if we get it out of committee to bring it to the floor, because that is part of that transparency piece, and then we can
sure,
talk about that on the floor.
I'd
We don't have
appreciate.
the amendment.
Well, I requested it from the reviser, so you're correct, I don't have it, but I would like the opportunity to present it. But if that's not available, it's my desire to bring it here in committee.
Okay. Well, at this point, though, we need to get this bill moving, one way or the other, right? So do I have a motion? Did I already ask that? Do I have a motion to move this bill out of committee? Okay. Second, any discussion? Yes, Senator Rose?
As it stands right now, who's left paying the $10.50 dispensing fee?
So that will be something that will be, we hope, the way this is supposed to work and the way the federal plan is also intended to work, is that those dollars will flow through the plan. So whomever has their own health insurance, whether it's through ACA or a fully funded plan, it would go through the plan, and hopefully the plan would get the rebates, get the reimbursement through the spread pricing, and it would be then, we don't, as a state, we can regulate those pieces of that plan to make sure that that flows through. So it goes to the plan makes that decision. If our large insurers decide they don't want to pass on the rebates, that's their decision, right? But our bill asks them to do that, requires them to do that. So it's a hard question to answer, isn't it? 'Cause it's not each individual receiving, an increase at the prescription counter.
Let me share my experience with the plan, which is insurance companies. And this is not a knock at all on insurance companies. What I've seen and experienced is insurance companies do not keep expenses to themselves. They pass it on to their members. Somebody's going to pay for this, and it's going to be the Kansan. And we don't know if the $10.50 fee is going to be passed on in the form of a copay when the member goes and picks up their prescription drugs at the pharmacy. It will be doing a small mom and pop shop pharmacy no favors whatsoever if they're having to charge their patient this $10.50 fee, and maybe a larger pharmacy that it has the same ownership as the PBM, which the PBMs are all connected to a pharmacy. And if they're able to charge $0, but the mom and pop shop is charging $10.50. That's not doing the small town pharmacy any favors, and plans don't keep costs to themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion, a second, discussion. Folks, we can only discuss this so long. We got to take it to the floor or not, right? And we've got a hearing that we're not advantaging those folks. So, Senator Warren,
Understand that the chair wants to move on. I think more discussion would be appropriate.
we will do that on the floor if the bill gets out of here. Senator Gossage, is that good with you? Can we wait and discuss on the floor, please?
I just
if
wanted to
the bill
clarify
gets out?
something that you said, Madam Chair, and there is nothing regarding a dispensing fee in the federal legislation.
There's no number, but there is, I've seen a summary that says dispensing fee is a part of that. I haven't seen a number, though.
No, it's actually not a part, especially for private companies. For Medicaid and Medicare, yes, but not for private entities.
We'll research that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay. Do you think we can take a vote? You've heard a motion, a second. I'm sorry, I've had to shut down discussion a little bit here because we've got to move on. All those in favor of the motion passing out Senate Bill 360 as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I've got 3 opposed, and I've got, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Division, all those in favor, raise your hand. Got the names? All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, 6-3. Names are recorded. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I don't believe names are recorded with
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
division.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Comfortable? All right. Everybody, now, whether or not this bill goes to the floor remains to be seen. But thank you. It's been a robust discussion. We will appreciate all the new information, old information. Thank you so much. I'm I think next we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 55. We've got 28 minutes. So can you organize yourselves in, I need my script. I can't find it, all this paper. Okay, very good. Committee, thank you for everything this morning. Our Senate Bill 55 is assignment of benefits, and we have got two in-person proponents. I think we'll be able to get through this just fine. The first proponent is Kim Decker. Kim, yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the briefing. Sorry. The most important part, we have to be briefed on the bill. I apologize. Thank you. Eileen, would you brief us, please?
Sure. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill 55 is a holdover bill from last year. This bill would prohibit the assignment of benefits under property and casualty insurance and would also define that assignment of benefits as an unfair or deceptive act or practice. The brief is pretty brief, so we'll say that the Section 1 of the bill would create a new provision of law that would prohibit a person from accepting an assignment in whole or in part of any post-loss insurance benefit under a residential or commercial insurance policy. And the section further provides that such an assignment agreement would be considered against public policy and would be null and void. Section 2 would add the solicitation or acceptance of an assignment in whole or in part of any post-loss insurance benefit under a residential or commercial property insurance policy to KSA 40-2404, which is the statute that defines unfair methods of competition and unfair or deceptive acts or practices in the business of insurance. As I stated, this is a holdover bill from last session. It would need updating. KSA 40-2404 was amended last session, so we would need to pull in the correct statute into the bill to be able to have it accurate if the committee were to act favorably upon the bill.
Okay, great. Questions, committee? This is kind of a different topic for us. Okay. Oh, did you have a question? Yes, Senator Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just really quick, can you reference the definition one more time of the practices? I apologize for my loss of words. You said you referenced a specific statute that defined.
KSA 40-2404 is the statute that actually lists the different actions that would be considered unfair or deceptive acts or practices in the business of insurance.
Thank you for interpreting my lack of English skills this morning. I appreciate it.
We've done a lot today. Any other questions, committee? Okay, if not, now you may come up and visit and give us your testimony. I'm so sorry. Would you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Kim Decker. There we go. Kim Decker, Head of State Legislative Affairs for Farmers Insurance. I'm also a member of the Kansas Association of Property and Casualty Insurance Companies. Say that fast 3 times. So I'm here because Marley asked me to come speak to you about Senate Bill 55. And basically what this will do is place an outright ban on assignment of benefits. So I've been doing legislative affairs for property and casualty for almost 25 years now. And I'm not a claims expert, but I do hear the stories. I hear about the fraud. I hear about the homeowners who have signed over their rights of their claim to these oftentimes unscrupulous roofers or contractors. And these folks, they want money. They get paid to do this, so they take part of that claim settlement. And it's obviously in their benefit to try to inflate the costs of the claims. That makes rates goes up. That impacts every Kansan. And in some cases, these folks will even sue the insurance company trying to get lots of money in a bad faith claim. And the homeowner doesn't even know that in their name a lawsuit has been filed, and that's just simply not right. So what is happening is Kansas has tried to regulate this practice, as have many, many other states. But now states are doing what you are doing. They're outright banning this practice. Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida have already done so. Missouri and Nebraska are both looking at assignment of benefits this year. So what I can tell you is, for those states that don't have an outright ban, a lot of these folks, they travel the country and they swarm in after a storm. And so those states that don't have an outright ban, basically they're laying out a welcome mat to these folks to say, hey, come on in. So you will attract more folks that are doing these bad things to homeowners, to Kansans, by not banning this practice. So that's why I'm here, to try to explain it a little bit better and to ask you to vote yes on Senate Bill 55. Happy to answer questions if you'd like, or get out of the way.
Should we hear from the next proponent, and then we'll have questions? I have a
Perfect.
couple.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Blake Roberts, Senior Vice President, Weddle and Sons. Would you welcome to the committee, introduce yourself, and
Yes, my name is Blake Roberts. I'm with Weddle and Sons out of Manhattan, Kansas. Chair Dietrich and members of the Senate for Finance and Insurance, I want to thank you for having us today to give testimony and giving me the opportunity to represent the Kansas Roofing Association and its members. Kansas Roofing Association, including me, myself, I've been doing roofing in the Kansas area for almost 35 years, helping policyholders navigate the insurance process to get their property back to pre-loss condition. The thing that I've seen, I've worked and helped policyholders all the way from Hayes, Liberal, Chanute, Hiawatha, and that's for the last 35 years. And what I've seen is, and trying also to, just back up, this assignment of benefit, I believe, is giving our industry a black eye. And I've tried, the Kansas Roofing Association has really tried to shine a really good light on the roofing industry. The roofing industry doesn't carry a very good light, but we're really trying because it's a legitimate business, and the roofing industry has been good to Blake Roberts. And I want to make sure it continues that way. So 95% of the claims that I work helping policyholders, or 95% of the estimates I've either written or helping or mentoring some of our younger salespeople are insurance claims. And it's pretty important to us. So pulling, and out of all those claims, not one single time have I ever pulled an assignment of benefit and had somebody sign that out of my tool bag and said, I need for you to sign this. There are other ways to get these claims settled. And number one is writing a good, honest estimate, like, kind, and quality. And you being in the insurance, anybody say insurance business, you know what that is. Like, kind, and quality. We're going to write for like, kind, and quality. We're not going to do any upgrades. And also, too, we have other tools in our tool belt to work this and navigate this claim. And that, whether, number one, writing a good estimate, using either 3 platforms that insurance companies use to write a good insurance claim, whether it's Xactimate, Symbility, and Power Claim, and most of those 3 are good in the state of Kansas. So to kind of go back, what the previous testifier had mentioned, yes, how did we get here? She's exactly right. It started in Florida, okay? Now it's during the hurricanes. This is probably about 14 years ago. It's migrated here to us, whether it's Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and they have done some legislation, whether it's restricting or abolishing an AOB. So that, in our business now, it's changed. Technology's changed. I can take my phone, look up, and in 20 minutes, I know where there is a catastrophe in any place in the state of Kansas. So what our bad actors do, they'll go onto that community, and if they don't have good solicitation laws, we got canvassers, door knocking. So the door knockers are pretty slick, and they'll convince Mrs. Smith in Tonganoxie, Kansas, or Waverly, Kansas, to sign this. We're going to make it easy for you. Well, then they have no right to go back. So I'll wrap up, because I could talk about this all day long because it's very important. The Kansas Roofing Association really strongly supports this Senate Bill 55, and I'd be willing to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. I am going to hold questions for 1 second, because at the very beginning of the last meeting, we had so many people in here, I forgot we have pages. Can I have our senator introduce his pages, and then we'll get to questions? Sure. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was a little bit congested, wasn't it? So I'm pleased to have 4 pages with me today from Salina Middle School. I have, let's see, Yeah, stand up here. Alea
Hi.
and Kamila and Teo and Isaiah. So they're all representing, which middle school is
Welcome.
that? Okay, thank you.
Welcome to committee. I hope you've enjoyed yourself so far. Thank you, Senator Harrell. Now, we'll go to questions. How's that? A little bit of levity before questions. Committee, do we have questions about this bill? Yes, Senator Gossage.
Thank you so much for being here. Interesting concept. I live in the country, and I'll have people show up at my door that say, we're putting in asphalt over here, and we're going to have some left, and could we asphalt your driveway? When I say, how much would that cost? We'll figure that out for you. Yeah, no. And I have lots of friends that are roofers. In fact, I do some of their health insurance. The concern is, you're right, it does give it a black eye. On the side of the people who do use this service, we know they're doing it because they're like, I don't have the money to fix my roof. And by the time I wait for it to go through all of my insurance process, I've got leaks coming through because of what happened. And so, yeah, that's fine. If you can save me some money and you can just work directly with my insurance company, I'll sign this, and they don't even realize what they're signing. Am I correct on that?
That would be correct. So they don't even know what they're signing. What it can do is it can prolong the claim. So it prolongs the claim to where they don't get a chance to start to visit. What I would do with that situation, if let's say the homeowner had called us for a good competitive estimate, I would write them an estimate. Also, I would review the adjuster's estimate to make sure it's written correctly. That goes back to education for the roofing contractor. Should know how to navigate that process. Don't just go ahead and just have them sign this and I'll make your life easier, right? So then what happens is they start adding inflated line items, whether it be safety equipment, which is part of the process, whether it could be a porta potty when the job only takes one day, or what they'll do is they act like a public adjuster and they'll find every little ding that might have been something from maybe a tennis ball hit a garage door to inflate that claim, which raises all of our cost. Does that answer your question?
It does. And Madam Chair, I just have one question since we have Eric in the room. I see that the department is silent on this, but I'm sure he's here for a reason. So could you just share the Department of Insurance thoughts?
Eric, would you like to step up, introduce yourself?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Eric Turek with the Kansas Department of Insurance. The department does not have a position on this. This is a policy decision for the legislature. We do receive complaints from the public concerning assignment of benefits. Usually those come from the contractors. We don't have a ton of complaints relative to assignment of benefits from the public. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Contracts sometimes exclude them. We don't have a position on this. Is there a specific? I gave you some general information. Anything specific?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify that it doesn't really fall under the purview of the Department of Insurance, but you get those complaints because it's called assignment of benefits. I understand. But those are my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Fagg, then Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I don't know who this one really goes to, but is there any reason why you would want to assign that as far as the insurance company versus the contractor working things out? And then I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate here a little bit.
Sorry. And you sign that document you never read. You just assigned all your benefits over for the doctor's office to negotiate with the insurance company on your on how much that's going to be. I don't feel that's, me personally, I don't want to sign all my rights and all my benefits over to get my roof replaced, my windows, my siding. There are other ways I feel that we can settle that claim, a good contractor, because what happens, we're talking about the people that abuse, we're talking about assignment abuse. In 2015, it ended up costing insurance companies $15 million in the state of Nebraska because of the assignment of benefits, and the policyholders not even know that the contractor, was two contractors that did that, and the insurance companies lost. And Insurance companies are my industry partner. That's where again, remember I told you 95% of what I do, we work it out. It's communication, it's education. I don't have to just threaten somebody with that AOB right off the bat. Does that answer your question, Senator?
A little bit. I'm sitting here, you get 50 things going through your mind.
Okay.
So you have a person that's out there that's assigned over, and this money that was lost in Nebraska, how was that lost?
Okay. What they did, the two companies that had, of course, we're kind of a little bit off study, but did Nebraska, they went in and had all these assignment of benefits signed over in a large catastrophe in Blair, Nebraska, baseball-sized hail. It got everything. It got EFS, windows, siding. They were taking a claim that was $23,000, inflating that claim to almost $125,000. And they had all these different provisions where really were just, my opinion was the line items that they put in there, they were abusing the line items that were in an Xactimate were really intended for possibly another type of a loss when it could have been actually settled with the adjuster. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
Senator Hill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Blake, thank you for your testimony this morning. And I'm still trying to kind of get my head wrapped around this too. I'm trying to think that if you have a contractor come to your house and you do not assign over your benefits, I'm not understanding why there would be a provision that they wouldn't or couldn't inflate the claim that way as well. What's the distinction when you assign over benefits?
That's a very good question. Let's say, for instance, we have a claim in Wamego or Manhattan, Kansas, and it's a previous client of mine or one of our sales representatives, and somebody beats us to that client, and they get an assignment of benefit signed, and it's already been past a week before their insurance agent had a chance to talk to them, before I had a chance to talk to them, and it's my previous client. They cannot get out of that assignment of benefit. So they're stuck with this particular contractor without getting, to get out of it. Now, again, going back to, I feel that I don't need an assignment of benefit. I feel that I don't need that. It's on behalf of the Kansas Roofing Association. Again, I think we can settle it with our insurance partners, whether it be Farmer, State Farm, or a really good mutual companies that hurts them the worst, which would be Bremen Mutual, Upland Mutual, or Kansas Mutual, that are licensed in the state of Kansas, that are all very fine companies and smaller companies in the state of Kansas.
Yes, go ahead.
So what I'm kind of getting from you is that anybody that would use assignment of benefits is unscrupulous?
And not all of them, but the ones that I've been associated with, some of the bad actors in our industry, they tend to want to abuse that. And why do I need an assignment of benefit right off the bat? Why am I handing this to this policyholder and not letting them know exactly what's going on? And they signed this, and then they have no way to back out of it.
So is it typical for these contractors, and I think we're kind of feeling like these are kind of fly-by-night contractors at this point in time?
Well, some of them are well organized.
Is it typical practice for them to, like after a hailstorm, to go in and get an assignment from numerous individuals?
Yes, that is correct.
And they're actually not able to complete the work in a timely manner, but they have it locked up. Is that kind of what happens?
That can happen. I've seen it happen where they'll get, remember I'm telling you, they're a canvasser, and there's not one or two canvassers. They'll bring 10 canvassers in. And the canvassers will go out, have them sign the assignment of benefits, and then they'll bring somebody that has experience, like me, to come in and write the estimate and inflate the estimate.
Thank you so much for your question.
Yes, Senator Rose and Senator Miller.
Thank you, Chair. So you've acknowledged that there are some good roofing companies that are headquartered in Kansas that use this business model of the assignment agreement, assignment of benefits, and they are currently providing Kansas residents with a good service?
Every contractor that I know, every contractor that I have dealt with, and I know most of the good contractors all the way across the state of Kansas, from again, to Wichita, to Salina, Olathe, Overland Park, the ones that are operating in good faith, and the ones that I know of do not use an assignment of benefit. What they normally do is they'll go ahead and work with a homeowner, write an estimate and Xactimate, or first write an estimate on their own estimating platform, which we have new tool now, what's called Job Nimbus, AccuLinks, which is very accurate, and some of them are still using Excel platforms to get their job cost and their cost. The ones that do worry me are the ones that are well organized, that maybe come out of Texas. There are some good contractors that do come up from Kansas. I don't want that to be an abuse in our industry, to protect our policyholders and to protect our fine insurance companies in the state of Kansas.
I would encourage the committee to talk to the roofers, because we're changing the playing field, and there might be some great Kansas roofers that use this model, and we're hearing one man's opinion. Nothing against you. But it seems to me like if we want to protect Kansas residents, some ways to do that would, when they sign the assignment of benefit, don't lock it in. Let it be amendable, that assignment of benefits, so if they made a mistake, they can correct it. Maybe we need to protect Kansas residents from out-of-state contractors. When there's a hailstorm, they come flocking from all over the country. But I think that before we change the playing field, we need to make sure that we aren't hurting good Kansas roofers.
Thank you. Senator Miller, and then Senator Warren.
Real quick, I do have.
I'm sorry, I should have let you respond.
Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead.
There already is there's a House Bill 78 or Senate Bill 78 that was passed back in 1918 or 19. That was a restricted assignment of benefits.
What year? 2018. You said 1918.
2019, is that one?
What?
2019, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 2019.
That's a little before our time.
Well, I was born in 1960, so. 2019. That was passed. We did not take that assignment. We did not take the assignment of benefits. It's a restricted assignment of benefits that didn't go far enough because there's a 72-hour cooling off period. Plus, they have to notify within so many hours to notify the insurer. There's too many steps there, and it does not happen. And so that's the reason why we are behind completely doing away with the assignment of benefit, Senator Rose. Thank you.
Senator Miller, and then Senator Warren.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep it brief, too. So I do have thank you for being here today. I appreciate this. And so my question was, is there a way that roofers, or we'll say the bad actor roofers, is there a way that they could find a workaround for this where they could still somehow lock a client or a potential client into a contract falling short of an assignment of benefits?
Yes, there are some contractors that are using open-ended contracts, is what we call them. And it'll be down in the fine print. It's not as popular as it used to be. And this is probably 5 years ago, it was a problem. And down at the bottom, if you signed this particular document and you did not use that contractor, they would charge you 20% of what the contract would be. So in other words, they would have them sign that document and then come back, and then somebody else is doing the roof, and then have an attorney write them a letter that they owe them 20%. So that is another tool that's unfortunately is in this business that has been used in the past.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Warren, last question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And two quick areas of inquiry. Thank you for addressing what's a concern here in Kansas. And one is, it's the right to contract, right? The right to private contract is something that is very important. And with subsection B of section 1, you are taking away, the bill would take away, the right of, if you willingly want to assign your benefits to a trusted contractor, this bill would prevent that. And what if you want to do that? I'm going to let my insurance company, this is my roofer, I've known him for 20 years, I want to assign my benefits, and now you can't with this bill, would be, I think, how the bill would work, if I'm reading it correctly. And then the second area is then enforcing it, subsection C of section 1 makes it a violation of the Consumer Protection Act, right? So it provides a private right of action for the homeowner, right, to then sue the contractor, and does it also provide the Attorney General to pursue it, or what are we talking about enforcement here?
Enforcement would be the Attorney General because the protection, protection is underneath the Attorney General's office. But to answer your question, it's a very good question, and I'll let you guys take that discussion on verbiage, on assignment of benefit, because that you're right, the way that does read, it does that somebody can't voluntarily do it. It's up to probably legislation to figure that out. It's a very good question.
Right, because this would take away all your right to contract to give your assignment of benefits to a contractor. So
As we stand, as we stand here today, what we're really after is to protect, it is under consumer protection and protecting not only our policyholders.
And I get that. We just don't want to be overbroad. And, the right to contract is an important opportunity for private citizens. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you both. Did you want to say one last thing? Please. Yes.
And we are
Reintroduce
strictly
yourself.
talking about property and casualty, but yes, if you trust your roofer, they're going to work with the insurance company on your behalf, but you just haven't signed a contract that gives them extra money for doing so. The good roofers do, in fact, work with the insurance adjusters on your behalf. But if you sign a contract, you can't talk to the insurance company anymore. If you have a concern, you can't talk to them because that person is standing in your shoes. So you've basically given away your own personal rights to engage in a claim that impacts your property.
Sure, and we assign benefits all the time regarding our health care, so I'm
Exactly.
sure Kansans are familiar with it. But we just want to make sure if we're going to take away that right from Kansans, we want to be fully informed and aware of the consequences.
That is a great question, and I'm wondering if in this bill, could there be some amended latitude to give us the opportunity? I've had the same roofer for 25 years, legitimate, good, great roofer. If I wanted to assign those benefits to him, I could, just to make my life easier.
Well, I think typically if you have a roofer and you tell the adjuster, please talk to this roofer, I think that pretty much happens. Yeah. So that's a practice that is happening.
Okay.
So the good guys, and the adjusters know the good guys, by the way. And
I'm sure they do.
They're buds
No,
with them,
well,
they trust them. So, yeah, sorry.
A promise that, oh, it'll work this way. We have to deal with what's written down.
Yeah, we get called on that quite a bit. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm going to close the hearing on Senate Bill 55. That was some really good information and a great topic. We haven't dealt with that before. So, committee, I just want to remind you, we do have a meeting on Monday. It will be those 5 individuals that you've got a packet on. It's our confirmation hearings. Make sure you bring the packets with you to the committee because they're confidential. We're going to turn them back to our staff and they will take care of those contents. So my plan is to hear from all 5. If you've got questions, ask your questions. And I'd like to, if you're comfortable with this, go ahead and recommend them at that same meeting, that same day. And we won't probably have time to work any bills. If we do, great, but if not, we've got plenty of time. Well, I won't say plenty of time, but we've got time. All right? Thank you. Meeting adjourned.